Hey everyone, welcome to the program WRSA Radio. I am your host, Grenadier One. As always, I hope you are having a good week. I have had a pretty good one, despite being a little under the weather early on this week. I pulled something in the back, and it's gave me fits for a few days, but it seems to be feeling a little bit better now, and so back to the grind, as they say. I had a little bit of a conundrum this week about what to cover, as we have had some crazy things going on. But also, I did manage to go see The Sound of Freedom over the weekend, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So, I was kind of unsure of, how to make all of that work in a show, but I think I managed to put something together on this one. So we'll give it a whirl, and we'll let it fly. I did not devote any time to the other than what I'm about to say, the Hunter Biden plea deal falling apart yesterday. That's just more of the honking. But anyway, so this week, more specifically yesterday, we had something very odd occur. Now, if you've been listening to my show for a while, you will know that occasionally I kind of wander down the rabbit hole of strange and esoteric content, including UFOs and aliens and that sort of thing. I have been involved with that topic for, close to 40 years, if not, probably longer if I really recalled the timeline, as correctly as possible. If I really kind of got down to the nuts and bolts of it, I've been reading books and watching movies and TV and things about that for, close to 40 years, or 40 years or longer. But at any rate, so it's something I've researched and followed for a very long time, bottom line. Yesterday we had what has been called, or what have been called, whistleblowers, because there was more than one, testify before Congress in congressional hearings about what the United States military and intelligence community know and have possession of regarding UFOs, or what they have now termed UAPs, or unidentified aerial phenomenon. Changing the name is a very interesting little trick, just to keep track of there. But at any rate, folks, I'm just gonna jump right out and tell you from the get-go that this is a psy-op. Okay, this is an operation that is being ran by the intel community to cover or distract for something else that is going on. And we'll get deeper into that shortly, but I want to lay this out for you and give you the beans on who is kind of behind or in the sphere of this effort. I want to inform you so you can recognize these people, and any story like this, when it gets ran out there as cover, for the mainstream to kind of follow and kind of distribute. There were several people who testified yesterday, so just to kind of touch on something first. Several of those people were pilots who have reported seeing things while they were flying for the military. And then we have the latest character that the intel community is rolling out, Mr. Grush. Now, I don't want to cast any negative light on the pilots. I believe that the pilots are being truthful, at least in terms of they are reporting what they saw. That does not mean that they are not part of the psy-op. They just may be part of it unwillingly or unwittingly. I have no doubt that they've been kind of coached a little bit in what to say, or how to say and how to present things. But I believe they're being truthful in telling us what they legitimately saw. It doesn't necessarily mean that what they saw was what everybody thinks it is. But at any rate, Grush, on the other hand, is an agent. And don't let them fool you into thinking that he is a former agent or anything like that. He is an agent. He is supposed to be a whistleblower. But he was Air Force Intel, AFOIC. And when he got out of the Air Force, he went into another intel agency. I've seen NRO, I've seen Geospatial Intelligence. I'm not sure exactly which agency it is, but another intel agency. He's still an intel agent, and yet he is not facing any of the threats and consequences of being a whistleblower. Now, you and I know that you're not supposed to face these kinds of threats and intimidation, but what have we seen other whistleblower government officials face when they come out? Like the IRS agent who recently came forward. That guy's getting arrested. I think he got fired. He's getting arrested, or at least charged with crimes. They're trying to intimidate that guy. ATF agents, FBI agents, they've all been fired or intimidated in some shape, form, or fashion, pressured into leaving the agency that they worked for. Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, these guys have faced consequences for just revealing government secrets, the secrets that are just embarrassing, not, secrets of gigantic national security repercussions. This is what Snowden revealed was pretty big, but like Assange, the big thing that they're going after him for was putting out the video of us killing some civilians in Iraq. Well, that happened more than once. What was the big deal with putting out that video of it? Nothing. Just embarrassing to the U.S. government, and that guy's rotting in jail. All you need to know about these hearings and about these leaks and these whistleblowers is that two specific people at high levels, or who were formerly high levels, are behind this. They're publicly supporting this. James Clapper and John Brennan. Now, I don't know about you, but anything those two are involved with is radioactive and should be avoided like Chernobyl. Yesterday, James Clapper was sitting front row behind these witnesses. Now, if this was legit, then that would be witness intimidation, okay? Clapper would have been at the head of CIA when some of this was going down and would be a main target for any kind of investigation of, improper handling or withholding of information or whatever was going on that they would be accused of. He would be a main focus of that. So this would be like you at work going to the police about something that your company did wrong, and the CEO of your company is standing behind you while you're testifying to the district attorney, what they did, while you're relating the story of what they did. That tells you everything you need to know right there, okay? They're in on that. They're part of this. Now, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've seen a lot of information in this field, and nothing that Grush said yesterday was really surprising at all. It's kind of... it's old hat, honestly. It's just part and parcel of UFO lore. Much of this is going back for decades and decades. I mean, this was standard fare in the early 90s, X-Files time frame, when that kind of threw the public light on, or the attention on, this kind of niche area. But it was stuff that was going around back then. So he didn't reveal anything new. The only thing that was kind of sensational about it is that he said it in front of Congress under oath, but really he wasn't even the first one that's come forward with those kinds of accusations and those kinds of things. So there's been others in the past who have said that. So he was in front of Congress under oath, but we know that oaths don't really seem to matter much anymore, since none other than James Clapper lied to that very same Congress about activities that his agency was guilty of, and nothing's happened to him. He was sitting right there in the room. Now, how do I know this for sure? Well, we could go into kind of a real deep dive of the timeline that's surrounding this particular phase of things, but honestly, that would take several hours, so I'm not going to put you guys through all that just in this episode. I would point you to the YouTube channel of Dark Journalist, Daniel Linst, as he's done phenomenal work on this. His program is something I watch all the time. And in fact, he did an entire video response to the hearings on Wednesday evening, so that's up on his channel right now. Go watch that, and it'll give you some more background on this and who these people are. But for me, there are some key points that you should realize here, and that's just kind of what I wanted to get in front of you. Point the finger at certain individuals so you'll recognize their names and understand who they are when you see this other information or this kind of information come out. There have long been stories in the UFO community of government agents approaching researchers or those who report on UFO stories, that kind of thing, with promises. They promise them that they will give them, the real deal, so to speak, this real info on what's going on, and they entice them with information that they want the researchers to publish, or at least come out and support publicly in their works. And it never got further than that. It has come out well after the fact that several researchers who had very good reputations in the community were targeted and fell victim to this effort. They were targeted by agents and given information, and they published this info, with this idea that they were going to get what has kind of come to be called disclosure. And that word has grown to a bigger definition in the community and kind of outside of the community. But originally it was just this idea that, one day a real insider would come forward and they would let it all out and just tell everything, and it would force the government to come clean about all this. Historically, a number of researchers just couldn't resist this and fell victim to it. And they lost most of their reputation that they had made when it became known. And truth be told, it came out and there was some mystery sort of around, how it came out. It was kind of convenient. So it's been kind of speculated that the real goal of those operations was to do just that. It's just ruin the reputation of these, really good researchers in the field. But regardless of what the intent was, that was the result. Okay, these people paid a price and kind of ruined the careers that they had established there. Well, because it happened more than one time, the community kind of got wise to this, and that op was tried on some researchers, and they denied it, or they declined. They said, no, I'm not going to take the bait. I'm not going to do this. They got smart, and not only did they avoid it, they went public with it and kind of laid out the details of how it happens openly. And so they've probably prevented others from falling into that trap to kind of avoid that temptation. Now, I don't think that's necessarily what happened here, because I think what has happened is an evolution of that operation. Okay, that was the nugget of the kernel that kind of grew into what we're at right now. I think the intel community kind of realized, hey, you know what, that op is no longer going to work. So they modified it. They decided that they can't get known researchers to fall for this. So why don't we just create our own researchers and work the op through that? And this is really how they did this. What they did was they got together with a guy named Tom DeLonge, and who had a successful music career, and they put together this group called TTSA, To the Stars Academy. And that was several years ago. They rolled out a guy named Lou Elizondo. He got picked up by mainstream media, got a lot of airtime. He was on Tucker Carlson. They had a show on Discovery Channel or History Channel, one of these, deals going on there. People who had no real idea what was going on, took it at face value. They said, wow, this is weird. This guy says he's a government agent and he's coming forward with all this, and we should be reporting this. And so it got some traction. But then people started to question Elizondo, and his story really fell apart. He was not a former agent at all. He was still a current agent, and he had not led the group that he said that he led. He wasn't really part of it at all. These kind of things, these facts, these little bits of information started to kind of trickle out about this guy. He wasn't who he said he was. But the same intel community people, were behind him that are behind the people that you're seeing today. And more than that, they were invested financially in TTSA. TTSA promptly went bankrupt to the tune of about $50 million. So that kind of piece of it collapsed. And so they moved on. We had a guy, Jamie Ramirez, who got rolled out. And now we have Grush here. He's just the next guy in line. And they've even gotten some congressional people on board that they've pulled in on this op. At least that's what it appears to be. And again, I'm not saying that necessarily all these people are motivated by nefarious reasons. Some people may be going into this with good intentions, and they think that they're doing great work and bringing something to light. They just don't realize that they're being played. So, but at the same time, we have another character, Jeremy Corbell, who was making UFO documentaries with some of these same insiders and so-called whistleblowers. So he's wrapped up in this, and he was also at the hearing yesterday. So it's very hard to tell some of these characters whether they are, motivated and by good intentions and just kind of getting wrapped in, because unfortunately you get people, they manage to reel in George Knapp, who was a respected Las Vegas reporter that made good progress kind of back in the 90s, bringing forward a lot of information about Area 51 and the Roswell incident. And generally anything UFO that happened in the Southwest, George Knapp was somebody that would report on it. And he got sucked into this and is basically being used to add kind of credibility in the UFO community to these efforts. So they've refined and perfected this process. They've pulled in some other people for the same reason of we want to collect some of these individuals who have some credibility in the UFO community to sell this story. Oh, we're finally going to get disclosure. You're not going to get disclosure from people in the government, in the intel community. They're the ones that are hiding this. Okay, I don't understand the thought process of some of these people, but at any rate, you can't throw everyone out and just dismiss everything going forward, but just recognize what is going on. So folks, if you see these people involved, Clapper, Brennan, Jeremy Corbell, some of these others, if they're involved with anything UFO related, know that you're being manipulated. I'm not saying that what they are telling you is a lie, because the same way that they bring in people with credibility, they put out truthful information to give their lies credibility. Okay? What they tell you, what they're telling you right now may be 100% truthful. It may be absolute true fact. It's just that they're telling you what they want you to hear, and they want you to draw a specific conclusion from it and form a specific opinion of it. In other words, it's a psy-op, okay? This is what they do. Moving on to another topic here, but related eventually. Last week I told you about the efforts to shut down the film The Sound of Freedom. And they're using similar psy-op tactics to do that, calling it a QAnon-adjacent film, which is a mashup of words that means absolutely nothing. Just kind of break that down. QAnon. What does that mean? Oh, that's that fake internet conspiracy, right? Sure. So what does that have to do with this movie? Nothing. Okay. Adjacent. What does that mean? It means to be beside or near something. Again, what does that have to do with the film The Sound of Freedom? Nothing. It's meaningless emotional triggers designed to get people to reject something that they have little to no knowledge of, but based off of something that they may have been told by mass media. You've been told to reject QAnon, and so anything that's adjacent is, well, that means it's near QAnon, so that must mean it's fake, right? just insanity, okay? Honk. Like I said in the opening, I saw the film over the weekend, and it's very, very good. It starts off a little slow, in my opinion. It's kind of choppy for about the first 30 minutes or so. The editing, it's really too quick, and the scenes they don't really play out. They don't breathe enough, as they say. You get very little kind of character development until about 30 or so minutes in. And then the film gets its feet under it and it starts to go. And the finish is great, and it's exciting. There's a long buildup of tension, and that is really done very, very well. It's just that the beginning kind of lets the film down a little bit, and I would have liked to have seen more scenes with Agent Ballard's wife and kids to really kind of drive home his motivation and his devotion that he's got to this cause. It's obvious you get a little bit of these scenes, but they're real. They're just very cut and dry and very short. And I would speculate that Mira Sorvino, who plays his wife, she probably spent no more than 2 days, shooting her scenes for this. It may be a day. She just was not utilized as much as she could have been. And especially knowing what Tim Ballard has said in reality about how his wife was a big motivating factor in why he made the decision to kind of leave Homeland Security and go do this mission on his own, kind of, so to speak. So they could have utilized her a little bit more and kind of played that out a little bit more. But anyway, I still give the film 4 out of 5 because it was overall a very good film. Obviously, the message was kind of the big overarching elephant in the room with this movie, and you watch it knowing that there are things like this going on all over the world, and people are falling victim to this every day. That is heartbreaking. Now, first of all, I want to point out an individual over on Gab who is making his impact with the Sound of Freedom. He's donating tickets to a local radio station to give away so that people can see this film. I'll put some copies of those messages in the video so you can see who that individual is, and maybe go give him a follow or a thumbs up over on Gab, if you would. I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Those are the kinds of things that I've spoken of before that you can do to have an impact, But anyway, I want to draw some parallels here, because as heartbreaking as that is, you have to recognize that we are meant to have the emotional response that we get when we see this film. And I'm not suggesting that is a bad thing. It's a powerful tool. It's a tool that storytellers have been using forever. So, since we were telling stories in caves around a campfire, people have been kind of, playing on emotional response. We are humans, and we have emotions, and those emotions have sway and power over us. So when used for good things and positive motivation, positive reasons, it's not bad. That's it's just there. It's just natural. But when people play on fear or maybe our curiosity to kind of drag us towards supporting something that we would otherwise, we would know deep down that this is not to our benefit, well, needless to say, that's wrong. And it can go so far as to being outright evil. Now, I don't know what Clapper and Brennan and these other agency pukes are up to. I don't know what they are manipulating our opinion for or against, but they are up to something. They are playing on fear and curiosity and trying to manipulate us into supporting something. Now, it may be as simple as, they want some new source of funding for exotic technology that they can, siphon tax dollars off the Intel industrial complex. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a money grab. I don't know. It might be that this exotic technology that they have needs this as cover for it to give them deniability. So, for example, we have this exotic technology secretly in our arsenal, and if we publicly call it, UFOs or UAP or whatever, it means that we could use that technology to attack anybody on a very limited basis without provoking a war. Oh, hey, it's not us, it's the little gray men. We don't know who it is either, but they just miraculously destroyed your air defense system or whatever, I don't know. But that kind of thing could be possible. I don't know. It maybe it is, maybe it's not. But just know that they are up to something, and we need to be sharp and ready for it. Maybe it's to distract us from the movie Sound of Freedom. I don't think that's the case. I've seen that theory kind of thrown out there. Maybe it was to distract us from Hunter Biden. I don't think that was the case. This is a long timeline. This is a far bigger operation than that. Again, I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's all these things wrapped up together, but it's something. They are up to something, and we need to be weary of it and aware of it. So anyway, that is all I got time for this week. Like and subscribe. Come see us over on Gab and the Mothership, and I will see you on the next episode.